This is our evening. A few of you have waited for this for quite some time. I will say a little bit about myself. So about me, I started this work 25 years ago. I mean, I was assisting and I was a mentor for a family therapist, for his clients, because his method, he was convinced that people need so much more help in between sessions, and the therapy is just not enough. Because, we all know we can't be called at 2 o'clock in the morning, right? And people, when they are in a real struggle, they often need to do that or just need much more support during the week or the 2 weeks whenever they have sessions. So that's how I started out. And I was reading books, going to seminars, did a lot of things. I translated for this therapist in Europe. I put on seminars for him there. And the funny thing was, in a break, I remember one specifically, I just knocked on his door and I fell apart in the lunch break. I'm such a bad mother. I can never fix this anymore. I'm not doing all these things you're saying we should do as parents. Then he just said, it's never too late. You're learning, calm down, you will do better, and so on. I think I made a commitment then to just use 3 specific things first, because he said it takes 21 days, 3 weeks, for a change, to change a habit. And so I believed him. And with great confidence, I came home, and when my children wanted something, then I dropped everything else and I really attended them. I either eye contact or got down on my knees, so I had the same height. They were very young. I held them at the shoulder. I forgot how many bills I have to pay or whatever else was going on in my life. And that's where I started out. I really fell in love with correcting parenting. And that brought me into the profession of coaching. So I did coaching education. I'm a member certified of the International Coaching Federation. Mostly what I teach and what I learned was through practice, being a mentor to other people and raising my own children, learning from that. Then I wrote a handbook with my friend. She and I were, I guess, courageous enough that we thought other women listened to us and invited them by phone back then. I mean, you're talking about 15 years ago or 20 years ago, by phone to do conference calls where we present things, where they ask questions, things like that. And we helped them. We taught them, how to listen, what to do, how to attend your children, how to fix or help them to go through conflicts, and so on. Then I started doing parent classes by phone, also still by phone, not webinars. And people called in from the whole world, I have to say, because somehow the word was passed on. I was specialized in something. And people called from around the world. And eventually, we saw that people needed more help than that. And the therapist and I designed family healing sessions, we called them. And that's what we're all here for, because I promoted that and I advertised that now I'm at a point where I really want to teach this. I want to pass it on because they're so effective. So over 10 years ago, I started this. We started it, and when parents called us for help, we prepared them depending where they were at, what they understood about parenting and what the circumstances were at home. But eventually, we led them to do a family healing session. That meant that I flew out to the home. And I've just been, a few weeks ago, John is a therapist that I'm training in this, and he helped me. So this was on the East Coast, so I could drive to, but I did 2 family sessions up on the more north on the East Coast. And that's when I'm for 2 days at a home. And I have a certain protocol for that, how to correct the family system, how to teach communication, how to help reattach the family members to each other, because there's always, when there's pain, when there's addiction and things like this, there's always detachment. And each person has a chance to talk to everybody in the family. So it's like arranged like a living room. But always two people, and I watch. I really look at, facial expressions, and when they hold their pain back, try to overcome it, giggle, all kinds of swallow it in some ways and so on. So I'm the one who brings it out, helps them to bring it out, and really become very honest, authentic, show their feelings, say things that they've never said, and just correct the approach and the response to each other. So that's the main thing, the approach and the response, because, I think I could say we all have been attacking in our relationships, blaming, have been angry and said it's the other one's fault. You made me angry, right? So we probably all have been at that place. And so these things get addressed and corrected. I'm starting a course on the inner child, also on webinar, on Monday, February 5th at 8 o'clock in the evening, a webinar. And I do 3 sessions in February where I basically explain different methods, how to get to the inner child, what to do, what is the inner child, what the heck do you do with it? How do you heal it? And so on. And I do this work with every single client. It's the foundational work. I found it to be the best because when we don't know what unresolved issues we have, what ouchies are going to trigger us in beating other people, then we always have a wrong response. We make the other ones that it's his or her fault, and we blame, and we go into victim land, and all these things. So self-knowledge and self-awareness is just so very important. Plus, you can shift your client from I'm so depressed, and I'm so nobody, and I'm so afraid, and so this, you can shift them fairly quickly to see differently, to feel differently. A lot of encouragement comes through this. I just did a session this week with a young man who had so much fear of the next interview and to find a job. And so we just went right into it, where he had other feelings like this early in life. And, he identified that. And we worked on that through the emotional freedom technique. And he just boom, flew out of the session happy. And the next day he had the interview, and he said this was the easiest interview ever. A lot. I do everything on Zoom. I did in the past on Skype. I now use Zoom because I can record the sessions for them, and they can revisit the whole session. They can rerun it. They can get what I said would be the homework. If I used things like emotional freedom technique or other things, then explaining how to do mirror work, or to step from a negative thought into a positive one, and so on. And they can see this again on the recording. They can really do their homework better. With the freedom technique, then they can watch it and do it along. They have that support, because it's hard to do it all by yourself in the beginning. All this goes on the internet, all my sessions. I just sit here and do sessions. You can experience, you can see it a few times, and then you can start. All of us, we get better in what we are doing often. So we start somewhere.